A little today's daily reading comes from the book of the Apocrypha. We're reading from the book of Jasher, chapter 24, and we are reading verses 25 through 55, and it reads as follows. And Joseph said unto her, Surely God, who created man, loosens the fetters of prisoners, and it is he who will deliver me from your prison and from your judgment. And when she could not prevail over him to persuade him, and her soul being still fixed upon him, her desire threw her into a grievous sickness. And all the women of Egypt came to visit her, and they said unto her, Why are you in this declining state? You that lack nothing, surely your husband is a great and esteemed prince in the sight of the king, should you lack anything of what your heart desires. And Zelicah answered them, saying, This day it will be made known to you from where this disorder springs in which you see me. And she commanded her maid servants to prepare food for all the women, and she made a banquet for them, and all the women ate in the house of Zelicah. And she gave them knives to peel the citrons to eat them, and she commanded that they should dress Joseph in costly garments, and that he should appear before them. And Joseph came before their eyes, and all the women looked at Joseph, and could not take their eyes from off him. And they all cut their hands with the knives, and they bad in their hands, and all the citrons that were in their hands were filled with blood. And they knew not what they had done, but they continued to look at the beauty of Joseph, and did not turn their eyelids from him. And Zelicah saw what they had done, and she said unto them, What is this work which that you have done? Behold, I gave you citrons to eat, and you have all cut your hands. And all the women saw their hands, and behold, they were full of blood, and their blood flowed down upon their garments. And they said unto her, This slave in your house has overcome us, and we could not turn our eyelids from him on account of his beauty. And she said unto them, Surely this happened to you in the moment that you looked at him, and you could not contain yourselves from him. How then can I refrain when he is constantly in my house, and I see him day after day going in and out of my house? How then can I keep from declining or even from perishing on account of this? And they said unto her, The words are true, for who can see this beautiful form in the house and refrain from him? And is he not your slave and attendant in your home in your house? And why do you not tell him that which is in your heart, and suffer your soul to perish through this matter? And she said unto them, I am daily endeavoring to persuade him, and he will not consent to my wishes. And I promised him everything that is good, and yet I could not meet with no return from him. I am therefore in a declining state as you see. And Zelicah became very ill on account of her desire toward Joseph, and she was desperately lovesick on account of him. And all the people of this house of Zelicah and her husband knew nothing of this matter. And Zelicah was ill on account of her love to Joseph. And all the people of her house asked her, saying, Why are you ill and declining, and lack nothing? And she said unto them, I know not this thing which is daily increasing upon me. And all the women and her friends came daily to see her, and they spoke with her, and she said unto them, This can only be through the love of Joseph. And they said unto her, Entice him, and seize him secretly. Perhaps he may hearken to you, and put off this death from you. And Zelicah became worse from her love to Joseph, and she continued to decline until she had scarce strength to stand. And on a certain day, Joseph was doing his master's work in the house, and Zelicah came secretly and fell suddenly upon him, and Joseph rose up against her, and he was more powerful than she, and he brought her down to the ground. And Zelicah wept on account of the desire of her heart toward him, and she supplicated him with weeping, and her tears flowed down her cheeks, and she spoke unto him in a voice of supplication and in bitterness of soul, saying, Have you ever heard, seen, or known of so beautiful a woman as I am? Or better than myself, who speak daily unto you, fall into a decline through love for you, confer all this honor upon you, and still you will not hearken to my voice? And if it be through fear of your master, lest he punish you, as the king lives, no harm will come to you from your master through this thing. Now, therefore, pray, listen to me, and consent for the sake of the honor which I have conferred upon you, and put off this death from me. And why should I die for your sake? And she ceased to speak, and Joseph answered her, saying, Refrain from me, and leave this matter to my master. Behold, my master knows not what there is with me in the house. For all that belongs to him he has delivered into my hand. And how will I do these things in my master's house? For he has also greatly honored me in his house, and he has also made me overseer over his house, and he has exalted me, and there is no one greater in the house than I am. And my master has refrained nothing from me, expecting you, who are his wife, which how then can you speak these words unto me? And how can I do this great evil and sin to God and to your husband? Now therefore refrain from me and speak no more such words as these, for I will not hearken to your words. But Zelicah would not hearken to Joseph when he spoke these words unto her, but she daily enticed him to listen to her. And it was after this that the brook of Egypt was filled above on all sides, and all the inhabitants of Egypt went out, and also the king and princes went out with the timbrels and dances, for it was a great rejoicing in Egypt, and a holiday at the time of the inundation of the sea Sahor, and they went there to rejoice all day long. And when the Egyptians went out to the river to rejoice, as were their customs, all the people of the house of Potiphar went with them. But Zelicah would not go with them, for she said, I am disposed, and she remained alone in the house, and no other person was with her in the house. And she rose up and ascended to her temple in the house, and dressed herself in princely garments, and she placed upon her head precious stones of onyx, beautified, beautified her face and skin with all sorts of the temple, and the house, and with cassia and frankincense, and she spread myrrh and aloes, and she afterward sat in the entrance of the temple, in the passage of the house through which Joseph passed to do his work. And behold, Joseph came from the field and entered the house to his master's work, and he came to the place through which he had to pass, and he saw all the work of Zelicah, and he turned back. And Zelicah saw Joseph turning back from her, and she called out to him, saying, What ails you, Joseph? Come to your work, and behold, I will make room for you until you will have passed to your seat. And Joseph returned and came to the house and passed from there to the place of his seat. And he sat down to do his master's work as usual. And behold, Zelicah came to him and stood before him in princely garments, and the scent from her clothes was spread to a distance. And she hastened and caught hold of Joseph in his garments, and she said unto him, As the king lives, if you will not perform my request, you will die this day. And she hastened and stretched out her other hand and drew a sword from beneath her garments, and she placed it upon Joseph's neck, and she said, Rise and perform my request, and if not, you die this day. And Joseph was afraid of her at her doing this thing, and he rose up to flee from her, and she seized the front of his garments, and in the terror of his flight, the garment which Zelicah seized was torn, and Joseph left the garment in the hand of Zelicah, and he fled and got out, for he was in fear. And when Zelicah saw that Joseph's garment was torn, and that he had left it in her hand, and had fled, she was afraid of her life, lest a report should spread concerning her. And she rose up and acted with cunning, and put off the garments in which she was dressed, and she put on her other garments. Amen.